Good evening and welcome to the Coon Rapids City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. If you could please rise and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call today.
Councilmember Griscoviac.
Here.
Councilmember Kicker.
Here.
Councilmember Demmer.
Here.
Councilmember Geisler. Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Wells.
Here.
Mayor Cook.
Here.
One absent, Geisler.
All right, thank you. We're up to adopting this evening's agenda.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Demmer.
I would move to adopt this evening's agenda with a record 2 changes, moving number 8 up to proclamations and removing number 20.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker to adopt the agenda with those 2 mentioned changes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the agenda is adopted, which brings us right up to proclamations and presentations. And we would like to invite members of our Community Strength Foundation up to the AMBO. I have to skip ahead to number 8. Come on. And we're looking to accept donation of funds for 2019 Movies in the Park. So, welcome.
Thank you. Scott Latta, president or vice chair, or whatever I am these days. There's so many different titles. We're with the Community Strength Foundation, our members. There's all the organizations that have gambling in the community, have a member on the board. Plus, we have 4 members at large. And we do donate to various community functions, and this donation happens to be for Movies in the Park. We've also donated to the 4th of July, and most recently, the newest thing of our donations was the pumpkin patch this year. So we really are glad that the money's being used for good things in the community. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All that horsepower up there, is that it?
Do you want them to introduce themselves?
It's entirely their call. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your work and your service, and especially for all the generous donations to everything good around the community. And it's also nice. It's always nice to see the former mayor here. Mayor Howe. All right. We need a resolution to accept that donation. Councilmember Demmer.
Adopt resolution 19-139 to accept $3,700 donation from the Community Strength Foundation to help fund the 2 Movie in the Park events for 2019.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Who would be opposed to that? All right. Thank you very much. We are up to approval of the minutes from the December 3rd meeting.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Demmer.
move to approve the minutes from the December 3rd meeting.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Johnson. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those minutes are approved. And we have several items on our consent agenda. If you're following along on the agenda, we're starting with item 2, which is just an informational item. We have several corporate officer changes for business licenses in town, from the Coon Rapids VFW, and Teresa Shumway, GameStop, George Sherman, James Bell, Dan Reed, Chris Homeister, and Frank Hamelin. Kendall's Tavern and Chop House, it's Richard Dobransky. Speedway, several Speedway, actually all the Speedways in town, let's just say that. Matthew Yoder, Karina Duffy, Kimberly Duncan, and Stephen Morris, and this is really just for information only. Next item is our item number 3, is to approve a therapeutic massage enterprise license for AFG-ME West Coon Rapids LLC, 12580 Riverdale Boulevard, Suite 103. Michael Drum has indicated that he has purchased the business of Massage Envy. The background investigation and license fee for a therapeutic massage enterprise license has been paid. Proof of the required liability insurance has also been provided, and approval is contingent upon the police department background investigation findings. So we'll be looking to approve the issuance of a therapeutic massage enterprise license to AFG ME West Coon Rapids LLC, doing business as Massage Envy, located at 12580 Riverdale Drive, Suite 103, pending a successful background investigation. Item 4 is to adopt Resolution 19-135. RMS Company has submitted plans to the city that include expansion of their existing facility located at 8600 Evergreen Boulevard, and the building expansion project requires the relocation of an existing water main pipe currently located within a 20-foot wide drainage and utility easement. On November 6th, a public hearing was held, and the city council adopted Resolution 19-122. When the city staff tried recording the vacation documents, the Anoka County Torrance Department indicated that the legal description provided was incorrect. The issue can be corrected by adopting a new resolution with corrected legal description, so we will be doing that this evening by adopting Resolution 19-135, correcting the legal description to vacate the utility and water main easement for property located at 8600 Evergreen Boulevard, Coon Rapids, Minnesota, 55433. And we're on to item 5, which is to approve a master contracting agreement with KLM Engineering. KLM has provided technical assistance and guidance on a couple of projects for the city over the past few years. Adding KLM to the city's contractor pool will provide another option in this specialty category, increase flexibility in scheduling, and ensure work is performed efficiently. So we'll be looking to approve a master contracting agreement with KLM Engineering Incorporated and authorize city officials to execute the attached agreement for professional contracting services. Item 6 is to approve a Class A on-sale Sunday and 2 a.m. liquor licensing for Lenerds LLC, 2501 Coon Rapids Boulevard, Northwest. If anybody's watching the meeting tonight, it should light up the Coon Rapids social media pages, because this has been the thing they've been wondering about. Leonard Morris and Churis Choen have submitted an application for Class A on-sale Sunday and 2 a.m. liquor licensing for Lenerds LLC, doing business as Leonard's Bar and Grill, to be located at 2501 Coon Rapids Boulevard, Northwest. The license and investigation fees have been paid. The police department is conducting the background investigation as required by the city's code. Approval of the license would be conditioned upon a successful background investigation, Anoka County Environmental Services issuing a food service license, receipt of a certificate of liquor liability insurance, as well as a certificate of occupancy issued by the city chief building official. So this action will be to approve issuance of Class A on-sale Sunday and 2 a.m. liquor licenses to Lenerds LLC, doing business as Leonard's Bar and Grill, located at 2501 Coon Rapids Boulevard, Northwest, contingent upon the completion of successful background investigations, Anoka County Environmental Services issuing a food service license, receipt of a certificate of liquor liability insurance, as well as a certificate of occupancy issued by the city chief building official. Sounds like there's still a few hurdles there, but a couple. All right, and on to item 7. Approve final payment to Lametti and Sons for project 17-28, Riverwalk Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation. This is to cover a change order for additional pipe cleaning required within the existing 42-inch pipe to be lined as part of the project. The actual project costs were less than the final contract amount due to quantity adjustments from the original bid. So we'll be looking for approval of the change order and final payment to Lametti and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $117,547.32 for project 17-28 Riverwalk Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation. Item 8 we moved up, and we are on item 9. which is to adopt Resolution 19-140, approving the 2020 Civic Center fees. The Civic Center rents facilities to users for various events during the year, including weddings, banquets, parties, athletic group functions, etc. With the exception of 2 items, fees for facility rental at the Civic Center have not been increased since January 1st, 2018. Staff recommends adjusting fees in order for the revenues to cover operating expenses of the rentals and based upon market research of comparable facilities. Generally, the fees were increased by 5 to 10%, depending on how the fee was rounded up or down to the nearest $5 increment. Fees were increased with similar approach for 2018. The fee increase will not affect rentals that have already been booked under the existing fee schedule. So we're looking to adopt resolution number 19-140, amending fees and charges for use of the Civic Center facilities. And then item 10 is to approve the 2020 liquor license renewals for Osaka Steakhouse, 7780 Fifth Avenue. So we're looking for approval of the liquor license renewals for Osaka Steakhouse, 7780 Fifth Avenue Northwest, contingent upon the submittal of a completed renewal application, an approved certificate of liquor liability insurance, and workers' compensation insurance, along with the renewal license fees. Item 11 is to adopt Resolution 19-141, approving a gambling premise permit for Coon Rapids Youth Hockey Association at Lenerds Bar and Grill. And then there was just one typo in here in the discussion. It said the Coon Rapids Youth Hockey Association currently operates at 3 additional locations. They're not at CR Sports Bar anymore, are they? I thought they were replaced with that. I thought we put in the Spirit.
I think you're right.
It was some other group. I don't remember what they were called now.
We'll verify.
Okay. Doesn't change the motion. We're looking to adopt Resolution 19-141, a resolution concurring with issuance of a gambling premises permit for the Coon Rapids Youth Hockey Association at Leonard's Bar and Grill, 2501 Coon Rapids Boulevard Northwest, contingent upon the approval of liquor licensing to Leonard's Bar and Grill. And item 12, we're almost there. Approve easement agreements for planning case 19-14, 108th Avenue and 10831 Foley Boulevard. On September 19th, the Planning Commission approved the subdivision exception with the condition of drainage and utility easements along the side and rear lot lines of parcel B and the combined parcels C and A, along with an easement on parcel A along 108th Avenue and parcel B along Foley Boulevard, none of which helps unless you're actually looking at the map in front of us here. Sorry. So we're looking to authorize execution 2 easement agreements for planning case 19-14. One easement agreement is with Paul E. Kep and Rachel A. Kep, and the other agreement is with Janelle Montoya. And then item 13, the final item on our consent agenda, is to approve easement agreements for planning case 19-19, 4095 and 4101 Coon Rapids Boulevard. This is the old ECM Publishing facility. And on October 17th, the Planning Commission approved the RLS, Registered Land Survey. Is that what RLS is? All right. To subdivide the commercial lot into 2 parcels with the condition of a 5-foot drainage and utility easement on other side of the common lot line between tracks A and B. A 10-foot sidewalk and snow storage easement is along Coon Rapids Boulevard. So we're looking to authorize execution of 2 easement agreements with APG Real Properties LLC for planning case 19-19. And that's the end of our consent agenda.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Johnson.
I would move acceptance, approval, and adoption of all that stuff you just read on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Johnson and a second by Wells. Any discussion or questions?
Your Honor. We need a third.
Councilmember Wells?
Just a clarification, we still have a limit of 3 pull tab locations in the city, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless they do what we consider to be pull
Right.
tabs, but that definition we may need to talk about because I think the state's changing what that looks like based on our definition, but yes, 3.
Okay, so that did make the discussion even more interesting. All right, any other questions or clarifications?
Mayor,
Councilmember Griscoviac?
I've got a question, maybe a clarification on number 7. It's the final payment to Lametti and Sons. If you notice, it's for project 17-28, 2017-28. So I'm just wondering, we're just paying them now over a year after final completion, and I'm just wondering, was the work not performed to the city specifications, or was there something that held this fund or this final payment for over a year?
Mr. Hammer?
Councilmember Griscoviac, members of the council. We were waiting on some videos and televising, that's a portion of it, as well as some of the negotiations around some of their extra funds that they had requested for some of this additional work. So we feel what we got was fair, and we were still waiting on those other items to come in.
Councilmember, may I add, the work, even though it has a 17 project number assigned to it, the work was actually performed in 2018.
In 2018? Yes. Okay. It seemed like it was a long ways out, so thanks for the clarification. Our work was performed to our satisfaction, and they're aware, and we're all agreed. Okay.
Thanks for the question. I was wondering about the
Yeah.
2018 myself, but I was just going to let it go. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the consent agenda is adopted. Item 14 this evening is to consider vacations of the right-of-way utility and sanitary sewer easements for Port Riverwalk. And we're still got a little bit of a mess here. It looks like we're gonna do a public hearing for four of the cases, and then we're gonna continue the public hearing for the remaining 3. Mr. Brody?
I think you've summed it up fairly nicely there, but I can give you a little bit more detail. That's correct. We're gonna vacate essentially the easements that are not utility easements. The road public, there's a right-of-way and a couple of sanitary sewer easements that we can vacate today. Frankly, just to be clear, XL is still in some of these existing right-of-way, or some of these existing utility easements. They're actually in there, and so we're in sort of a prolonged negotiation with them because they don't like to give up something that they're in, and that, I guess, makes sense. So to try to come up with something that won't cloud the title in the future as we had close on the property, but still give XL some assurances, is what we're still working on. We've had a better discussion with XL, at least our council has this last week, so we're a little bit more confident that this can get done. It just frankly hasn't got there yet today. We've been sort of pushing them all along just to kind of keep them together, but at this point, we want to at least take care of the low-hanging fruit ones that we know we don't have an objection on, so that's why we're recommending that you take care of those 4 today. And then it certainly is our hope that the next time we come back, because I never thought when I first started this in October that we'd ask you to continue this as many times as we have. And like I said, it's been unfortunate that way, but we're hopeful that we can get this resolved as quick as possible with Excel, so they can withdraw their objections and we can do that, go forward at that point.
All right, thank you. So any other questions before I open the public hearing then?
I do
Councilmember
have a question,
Griscoviac?
Mr. Mayor, and it's going to go to Grant, and this is going to be, if we don't get these easements taken care of, are we going to be looking maybe at an Amendment 4 to the central purchase agreement? I know they have until January 31st to close that purchase agreement. If this doesn't get done, these remaining, does that then get pushed out, or how does that affect that?
That's a great question, so Mayor and Council. We have not discussed extending the purchase agreement another time. Frankly, we're just trying to put pressure on all parties to get this done by January 31st. Now, obviously, in the next 2 weeks, because of the holidays, I don't know how much is going to be accomplished. We'll have to probably pick up first of the year, see where we're at. As City Attorney Brody mentioned, there have been, I think, productive conversations with XL. I think we're talking to the right people. They understand what the issues are. So I think we'll be able to resolve it. If we determine, I guess, come first of the year that we're gonna run into that deadline, then I guess we'll have to consider extending it. But frankly, my goal is to try and get this closed and keep the pressure on everybody to do that.
And there's no way to close without those last easements being cleaned up? Or that would have-
Correct. We have to
right?
complete the vacations. That's a requirement of our purchase agreement, amended purchase agreement.
Okay, just setting the stage, thanks.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
Just a Quick question. You said that they're still in those easements, and can you help me understand, like, in what way are they still in those?
There's
those
power
easements?
lines running through them.
Okay.
They have actual physical lines within those easements, and those have not been part of some of them have temporarily been relocated as part of the initial grading out there, and some of them are still in their current spot within easements, and so that's.
Are they active lines?
Yeah, they're active lines. So typically when we vacate easements in general, they're not even there. They're just old easements kind of laying around. This particular project, given its size and its scope and that it was a redevelopment, there are obviously some existing lines in there. So some of those overhead lines that if you drive by there, you'll
Yep.
see them. Those are what we're talking about. Not all of them. Some of them, like I said, have been relocated already or temporarily, but there are a couple of them that are existing lines that are active, servicing, that part of the community.
And we're proposing that those lines be frankly buried, right?
Yeah, at some point
Which is an improvement to the community and to them, and we would be assisting them in that
Yeah,
process.
I'm guessing we'll be paying for those relocations.
Right,
us or
so that gets
Centra.
to my question of, we can talk about it at a later point
Sure.
in time, but
I know what you're-
quick taking them
Sure.
and then just forcing the issue, because, we would use the power of eminent domain then, but I'd rather just negotiate it with them.
That was our, like I said, our hope, and had we known this was gonna take as long, we might have taken a different tact, but again, that's
Yeah.
what's different about this than most of our vacations, is they're actually in those easements with active utilities.
So if they are still, I don't want to be negative about it, but if they are still not able to come to the table with a solution in early next year, then I'd welcome a discussion at a workshop on the feasibility of eminent domain.
The other option is we have to sort of think about too, is just proceeding ahead with the vacation.
Yeah,
I mean.
exactly.
It's, obviously there's risk to that, but, like I said, so those are things that we're continuing to work on. Again, it's our hope that this will be negotiated, but we're also trying to think of alternatives in case it isn't.
Good, thank you.
All right, any other questions before we open the public hearing?
And just to be clear, I think the public hearing actually is open. I think it's been continued several times as an open
That's
hearing.
right, that's right. So I don't have to do the gavel? Nice.
No.
Not unless you really want to.
All right, well, I guess I'll still have to close that public hearing, so.
A little portion of it.
All right, so we're going to conduct the public hearing, it's still open. If
Yes.
anybody would like to address council for resolution numbers 19-142, 19-143, 19-144, or 19-145, vacating the right-of-way, now is your time to address council. Nobody's leaping up. One more time, public hearing. Okay, we're gonna close that public
Portion of
hearing.
For 4 of them.
For 4 of
The
those
other 3
4,
open.
right.
Okay, do we have to
Right.
make a motion there?
Yeah,
Yep.
You could either do 2 motions or 1 motion. One, I would recommend probably 2 separate motions that you'll move to vacate those 4 or
Okay.
authorize those resolutions, and then a motion to continue the remaining 3 until our first meeting in January, which is 7. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Councilmember Demmer?
Is that the right order to do them in? I would have thought continue first, but whatever. All right, so I would move to adopt resolution number 19-142, resolution 19-143, 19-144, and 19-145, vacating right-of-way and sanitary sewer easements.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. I think
Aye,
that's
Your
your
Honor.
4/5 majority there.
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Demmer?
I would also move to continue the public hearing for the remaining 3 vacations onto the January 7th, 2020 meeting.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. We have one item under old business, and that's to consider planning case 19-24, consider adoption of ordinance 2231, amending sections 11-701, 11-801, and 11-903. And this is just that, to amend the city code to clear up some confusion regarding two topics. The first revision consolidates two terms used for daycare centers in the office, commercial, and industrial districts into one definition, and the second amendment relates to the treatment of two uses in port wellness. Does anybody want to?
Mr. Mayor, that was a great summary. I don't have anything to add.
We're looking for brevity tonight.
Understood.
Your Honor,
Councilmember, was it Kicker?
I make a motion that the council adopt ordinance 2231, amending sections 11-701, 11-801, and 11-903, and authorizing summary publications of the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Kicker, second by Demmer. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And we're on to item 16. Consider receiving the Coon Rapids Mortgage Assistance Foundation annual report, and they have a new name though, right? And concur with the Coon Rapids Mortgage Assistance Foundation Board of Directors recommendations. That's repeated multiple times. So I'm blank. What is the name of the group now?
The Coon Rapids Home Improvement Foundation.
The Coon Rapids Home Improvement Foundation. Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any questions or presentation? I think I reviewed the minutes. Looks good. I don't know. Mr. Stemwettle, you have your hand up.
I don't know if Mr. Howe is here. I don't know if he wanted to say any words. I think that if he would like to.
It would be the vice president.
Yes.
Putting him on the spot.
Putting him on the spot. Yeah, he's-
Well, I believe he was thinking he would do that. But,
Oh, nice.
So hopefully I'm not surprising you.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Mayor, City Council. I'm here on behalf of the Coon Rapids Mortgage Assistance Foundation, or Coon Rapids Home Improvement Fund, doing business as, I guess. It's an exciting time for the foundation and I think for the city. And the front door program that we started, I think, has rejuvenated the interest, not only in that portion of it, but all the other funds that are available to the community out there for home improvement. And I used to, and the mayor and Councilmember Wells, when we used to hold the meetings in the park, I would talk about the Mortgage Assistance Foundation and the funds that were available, and I used to get staff and some people telling me, you kind of lose the people when you do that. But to me, it's an exciting program, and it's unique, absolutely unique to the city of Coon Rapids. Just the amount of funds that are available to our citizens and the programs that are out there and the number of programs that are out there. So it's more exciting. We were always worried about how we were going to get the word out there and let people know what's available to them. And through city staff doing some great marketing, and the front door program that was started not only generated interest in that program alone, but it generated an interest in our other ones when they weren't chosen. When we did the drawing, the alternatives were there for them. They said, look at this program, look at this program, see if any of these fit for you. And so there was a great increase in activity, thus a great need for more funds to be transferred, and that's what we're really asking, recommending to you as a council tonight to do that. So we tell people to look forward to their January newsletter. There'll be some more information on this upcoming 2020 front door program, and we know there'll be a lot of interest again, just like there was last time. So,
excellent.
thank you.
So, Tim, on the, did we have any numbers on the second? Because the first $100,000 leveraged about $570,000 in project costs, according to the minutes. And then another $150,000 was released. And do we have any final numbers on the front door program for the year?
Yeah, so in total, between the first $100,000 and the additional funding that was added later in the spring after the response was so overwhelming, there were a total of 87 recipients selected. Now, there were some people that did end up dropping out of the program. You know, most of them decided that they just couldn't afford their portion of the cost of the project. Some people, you know, there were a couple of other scenarios, but in all, there were 73 recipients of the Front Door program in its first year. That equaled about $185,000 worth of grant funds that were allocated, and just over $1 million worth of home improvements that came out of that program. And again, it's for exterior improvements only. So the board was really excited to roll out this program this year. And certainly with exterior improvements, everybody benefits, not just that one homeowner or those 73 homeowners, but the entire, you know, the blocks, the neighborhoods, everyone benefits when you can see those exterior improvements, and it does spur other activity. And as Tim mentioned, there were a lot of other loans that were originated as a result, whether it was to help with the financing of the rest of the project of the Front Door recipients, or other people that were not selected in the lottery that wanted to do their projects anyway. So it was really a great program for the board to introduce this year.
Between that and that June 2017 storm, Coon Rapids is doing pretty well, housing stock.
The biggest problem is to find subcontractors and contractors to do the work right now. And
Sure.
I think people were running into that issue a little bit, but it's keeping them busy. And I always said our city is deeply rooted in the trades. And so when the housing crash happened, I think it had a great impact on our city, but I think it's I hate to say a good thing about storms, but it's
Right.
a good thing that the activity is out there, and it's helping our overall city economy.
That would be the silver lining to that cloud.
Silver lining, yes, exactly. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you for all your service on this commission, and part of what we're looking at is we're looking at the slate of officers. Well, there it is. So we're looking at Scott Schulte was nominated as president. He accepted the nomination, was unanimously elected. Tim Howe was nominated as vice president, accepted and unanimously elected. Al Hofstad, secretary, accepted, elected, and Denise Clint nominated as treasurer. There's a serious lot of horsepower on that committee as well. All right, Councilmember Johnson.
I think this is just one of the wonderful distinguishing programs that we have in Coon Rapids that encourages people to invest in their own community and in their own properties. And so I am pleased to recommend that we concur with the recommendation of the Coon Rapids Mortgage Assistance Foundation Board of Directors, and authorize the mayor and the city manager to execute a 10th Amendment to the service contract, together with any necessary documents, with the Center for Energy and Environment that provides an additional $1 million in funding allocated to the program loan funds, subject to the direction of CRMAF Executive Committee, and the extension of the service contract to December 31, 2021. Also, to allocate $140,000 for grants to the Front Door program and $20,000 for architectural and landscape consultations for Home for Generations 2 and Front Door Grants program. And finally, to concur with the recommendation of the Coon Rapids Mortgage Assistance Foundation Board of Directors to amend the CRMAF bylaws as described in the agenda.
Second?
Motion by Johnson, second by Kicker. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
Just looking over our budget for 2020, the Housing Program Fund is robust, definitely can afford this allocation. Also looking that the foundation had a record number of loans in 19, so I fully support this recommendation.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Excellent, thank you. Item 17 and 18 looks to be, actually, do you have pretty much the rest of the meeting here, Mr. Hanson? You at least have the next couple anyway.
I do have a couple of short presentation regarding the feasibility reports for our 2020 street reconstruction program.
All right, and these are for projects 20-1 and 20-2, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Mr. Hanson?
So, a little bit of background about our 2020 program. I'm working off of a PDF here, and, okay, there, that's a little better. So the streets that are proposed for reconstruction next year were rated as either deficient or in poor condition early this spring in 2019. They range in ages from 19 to 51 years old. And then staff, as always, compares notes with our streets division about where they're spending the most time patching potholes. And we came to you in a work session format early in July and talked about this program. So we've proceeded to scope those projects out and develop some cost estimates and feasibility reports, and that's what we're here to talk about. So the first project is 20-1. It's 2.6 miles in length. It's within the green area of that map. It's a little hard to see on this map, but I'm going to zoom in and talk about the individual sections, or segments rather, on subsequent slides. But the project's going to consist of resurfacing the road, replacing any damaged curb, driveway panels, sidewalk panels, repairing storm and sanitary manholes. We will be doing selective valve and hydrant replacements on certain street segments. Water main replacement will be taking place on 97th Avenue and Yellow Pine Drive, as well as the segments that are within the Autumn Knolls neighborhood. And then we're looking at a new sidewalk segment on 111th Avenue, just south of City Hall here at Hamilton Elementary School. So that project breaks down into 97th Avenue from 99th Avenue to Yellow Pine Drive, and then up to, I believe it's 98th Lane. And this is the segment where we've had actually a number of water main breaks over the last couple of years, at least a half a dozen or so. The street pavement actually is in reasonable shape. However, we've had a lot of water main breaks on this segment. So that's really what's driving this particular segment of street reconstruction. So that's what we would recommend there. And then the next segment is 111th Avenue down Avocet. This is just south of City Hall, east side of Robinson Drive. And then Avocet Street over to 109th. And then we'll connect to where we left off in years previous on 109th. This particular segment of streets, the water main's in good shape. We haven't had any issues with it. It's fine to last many, many more years. We will be replacing the valves and hydrants, but the street will be brand new otherwise, and then the damaged concrete will all get replaced. In that green segment on the map, that's where we're proposing the sidewalk. The next segment is the Autumn Knolls neighborhood. It's just north of Egret Boulevard. It's bounded by Kumquat Street, 107th Lane up to 108th Lane, and then Norway Street on the west side. This is another area of the city where we've had a number of water main breaks. So the pavement condition here is a little better. However, this is the #1 area where we had, our utility division tells us they've had the most problems. So this is an area we'd like to get the water main replaced. And so that is what we propose there. And then the last segment of the 20-1 project is on the south end of the city, just along East River Road. It's going to start at 89th Avenue, go over to Norway Street, and then down to 86th Avenue. All of the streets coming off of here are private streets, townhomes. We're not going to be doing any of those, but the streets within there, these main thoroughfare streets, are public. So we will be reconstructing those. They will be brand new streets, again, with all of the utility appurtenances, hydrants and valves, and catch basins and manholes replaced. So the next project is 20-2. This is what we call our municipal state aid project. 2.3 miles of streets, again resurfacing road, replacing damaged curb, sidewalk panels, driveway and sidewalk panels, repairing storm and sanitary manholes, selective valve and hydrant replacement. However, replacements of water main segments on Crooked Lake Boulevard and then on 113th Avenue. And then also proposing new sidewalks on 113th Avenue, just west of Crooked Lake Boulevard, and then along Crooked Lake Boulevard, right across from Morris By Elementary School, where there are a few gaps on the west side. And then Riverdale Drive and Northdale Boulevard over by Cub and Walmart on the north and the west sides respectively, where we don't have any sidewalks up there today. So a little bit more detail on this project. 113th Avenue goes from Coon Rapids Boulevard over to Crooked Lake Boulevard. We would propose to replace the water main from Crooked Lake Boulevard to between Ivywood and Jonquil Street. And then the sidewalk, the new sidewalk that we're proposing is on the south side, highlighted in green. The next segment of streets to be reconstructed, proposed to be reconstructed, is Crooked Lake Boulevard, north of Northdale Boulevard. So what we'll do here is pick up where we left off as part of the county project in 2014. We did a mill and overlay up about, I would say, 500 feet north of Northdale. So we'll start from there and then we'll do a full depth, actually a complete reconstruction, because in this segment of street, before Crooked Lake turns and goes in the northwesterly direction at Highway 10, we have concrete pipe, or PCC pipe, we call it. And that pipe is a very old type of pipe product that is very difficult to maintain. This is really the time to upgrade that to something that is maintainable, something that we'll be able to address when we have issues with it. So then this project, this segment also proposes sidewalk segments as shown on the map. The segment as it curves around at Highway 10, I'll note that that's relatively newer than the rest of Crooked Lake Boulevard. That was redone when Main Street, the interchange, was upgraded. So we're just looking at doing a mill and overlay on that shorter segment. And then Riverdale Drive and Northdale Boulevard, as the council's aware, this used to be County Road 79, and that is now a city street. It's actually an MSA street. We put it on our MSA route map, and we'll be using those turnback funds as part of the reconstruction here. At one point, we looked at considering a roundabout at the intersection, the wide intersection of the entrance to the mall area, but that became cost prohibitive. So this project just contemplates reconstructing the road as it is today with the addition of the sidewalks as you see on the map. So the project schedule, in January 2020, we will be having a second open house for property owners. We already had one in October. We had several property owners attend and ask questions at that open house. We'd encourage anybody watching this on TV and is in one of these affected project areas to attend the second open house in January. The public hearing will occur at the second meeting in February, which is February 18th. So tonight we will be setting that date for the public hearing. And then May 5th is the date that we would ask the council to adopt the assessments after we've received bids for the projects. Construction would occur in May to September or October timeframe. We'll have another meeting in a nearby city park. We've been doing this for the last couple of years. It's been very successful. We've had a really good turnout from residents just before the project, and the contractors are also there, and they're representing and able to talk in a lot more detail about the project schedule. Of course, letters will get sent out with contacts and schedule information, and each Friday during the construction season, staff put together a general update or what we anticipate the next week's worth of work will be on the city website. People can sign up to receive updates on when those are going to become available. The project costs are shown in this graphic. Project 20-1 is primarily going to be street reconstruction funds. There's a mixture of utility funds. The assessments amount to about $775,000 with a total project cost of $5.5 million. And then project 20-2, using a mixture of street reconstruction, MSA funds, as well as the turnback funds of $684,000 that we received from Anoka County. And then a mixture of utility funds, sidewalk funds, to come up with a estimated total project cost, including design, administration, everything, of $5.7 million. The 2020 assessment rates are shown. The single-family residential assessment, regardless of whether you're a corner lot or an interior lot, everybody pays the same for a single-family residence. As $2,134. That's a 3.11% increase from the 2019 rate, which was $2,070. Duplex townhome apartment properties would be assessed at $27 per front foot, and commercial properties are twice that rate at $54 a foot, and then industrial properties at $69 a foot. People that are assessed for the project have several options to pay off the assessments. The first option is to pay the entire assessment amount interest-free between May 6th, assuming the council adopts the assessments on May 5th, to June 6th. The second option would be to pay between June 6th and November 15th, and then some additional interest that would be accrued up until that point. And then the third option would be to do nothing, and then the assessment would roll over to your property tax statement. You can pay it off over the course of 10 years. The assessments at the amount that they are for a single family currently, and we expect it's going to be about a 2.1, I believe, interest rate. It's a very low interest rate, less than 3%. Would amount to about $250 per year over 10 years that you would pay to pay off the assessment plus the accrued interest. And we have lots of videos for people to watch. There's lots of information on our city website. 2 different videos that are available that walk people through the process of street reconstruction, and then also another one that addresses the frequently asked questions. We'd encourage anybody watching to watch and take a look at those if you're affected by these projects. And then the last thing is we recommend that the council adopt the resolutions accepting the feasibility reports, ordering a public hearing on the improvements for the projects to be held on February 18th, adopt the resolutions declaring the cost to be assessed, and ordering the preparation of the proposed assessment rolls, adopting the resolutions, and then setting the assessment hearing date for February 18th. And then it's a recommendation. You asked me that question last year. It's a recommendation. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I know I ask some variety of this question every single year, but congratulations on the roads that lasted 51 years. What happened on the one that lasted 19? Was that the water main one?
Some of it has to do with, we think, the seal coat process and some of our maintenance processes, and we're looking at various different ways. So and also the water main. So in particular, the case for 97th Avenue, that was reconstructed previously. So the pavement is in reasonably good shape, but it's the water main that's driving that one. On 113th Avenue, again, we have reconstructed that street once about 20 years ago. And the seal coat and some of the wear and tear on that particular road seems to have now required street reconstruction. In general, pavements are designed to last 20 years. We always hope to get 40, if we're lucky, 51. 51 is unheard of. That's because Coon Rapids is in the sand plain and we have a very good sub-base, so it's very unusual. 20 years is what they're designed for, but with proper maintenance and consistent maintenance, we expect to get 35 to 40 years.
And I always do get a little bit worried about, you know, there's probably people who have lived there that entire 20 years and they're gonna get assessed twice and somebody else never got assessed in 50 years on the other. So I do worry a little bit that internally we should consider if a road doesn't last long enough that we assess differently, because chances are, you know, it wasn't the homeowner's fault that the road didn't last.
Well, it's hard to say. It's hard for every road to last exactly the same way. There's too many variations with
So if
the.
a road lasted only 10 years and someone had just finished paying it off, I hope we wouldn't assess them again. So I don't know what the limit is, just something I wanted to bring up as a consideration. And if the average is supposed to be 20 and you get 19, certainly that's not a problem. One thing I was wondering though is, in the era we currently live in, is there any sort of databasing going on across the state? Because I know you've said certain years we've gotten bad mixes, and then other years it seems like the roads last forever, or we do seal coating and then it turns out we shouldn't have done seal coating. Is there anything that's being kept track of across the state of Minnesota that says, hey, it turns out in the 90s we really screwed stuff up, don't ever do stuff like we did in the 90s again, so that going forward we can all get assessed once every 30 years instead?
Councilmember Demmer, there's actually an entity called the Local Road Research Board that is looking into things and questions like that, because it's not a question or a challenge that Coon Rapids is alone facing.
Right.
So
There's
it's
no
something
way we could figure it out.
that Tim and I have been talking with other cities and then collectively throughout the metro area. So yes, I would expect something like that would be available within the next few years.
That's really exciting, because yeah, you're right, there's no way we could have enough data to make good decisions. And so the broader group you look at, and of course California would have different problems than Minnesota. So I'm very excited to hear that, because I think that, you know, if we can avoid the things that make the 19-year roads, you know, we add value to the whole city. So.
And now I will point out that the roads that we have done before, we're proposing water main replacement. So it will be a true, complete, brand new road. Because as you know, that when we do a reconstruction on a lot of these streets, we're not replacing all of the curb, we're replacing what's damaged, because we know that the rest of the curb can last for another 30 years. But in these cases, because of the fact that we are replacing the water main, we are going to be replacing all of the concrete. So it's a complete and thorough, brand new road.
It's also a good time to point out that we've changed our policy and we're now putting in thicker roads, which was
Yes.
based on a recommendation that that'll
Yep.
also make them last longer. So, I mean, I think
Yes.
you guys are doing the right things. You're trying to make all the roads last longer, and ultimately, that's a way to save people's taxes, right? An assessment's a form of a tax, and the less often you
Yep.
pay it, the lower your effective tax rate is. So, just like we gave a lot of credit when we found a way to bring down our bond percentages, the work you guys are doing to make the roads last longer is impactful too.
Questions, Mr. Hanson? Councilmember Denton?
Yeah, Mr. Hanson, how do you assess whether or not you're gonna do the water mains? I mean, is there something that you evaluate? Is it just previously you've had lots of issues there in that area? Or how does that, is there any way to actually, you know, see what the conditions are?
The number one method that we use is looking at break history and then comparing the age of the pipe, the type of pipe that's there today, and then how long we expect it to last. So the water mains that are in our system right now, a lot of them were installed in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Those should all last anywhere from 60 to 100 years. But in some areas, because of soil conditions or other conditions, subsurface, they haven't. We've had issues, or there's other things in the ground. Larger boulders are more susceptible to frost heave, where you have cast iron pipe that we turned out to have more challenges with. So we look at what we expect to get out of it, and then what the break history is primarily. The other thing I would point out is that most commonly in a lot of these areas, when you have an issue with buried water main systems, it's most commonly at the valves and the hydrant locations. And some of these systems were put in pre-stainless steel bolts. So that's when we're replacing all the appurtenances on these other streets that we're not doing a holistic trunk replacement on, we're upgrading those bolts and all of those fittings, which are the most prone to some kind of a leak. So that in effect is a vast improvement on the entire system.
All right, any other questions from Mr. Hanson? All right, so under item 17, project 20-1, Councilmember Kicker.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 20-1 sub 4, accepting feasibility report and ordering a public hearing on improvement for February 18th, 2020. Adopt resolution number 20-1 sub 10, declaring the cost to be assessed and ordering preparations and proposed assessment roll. And adopt resolution number 20-1 sub 11, setting an assessment hearing date for February 18th, 2020.
Second.
Motion by Kicker, second by Demmer. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And we're on to item 18, project 20-2.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Demmer?
since we covered that at the same time, I move to adopt resolution number 20-2 sub 4, accepting feasibility report and ordering a public hearing on improvement for February 18th, 2020. Adopt resolution number 20-2 sub 10, declaring the cost to be assessed and ordering preparation of the proposed assessment roll. And adopt resolution 20-2 sub 11, setting an assessment hearing date for February 18th, 2020.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And we're on to item 19, consider a joint powers agreement with the city of Blaine for reconstruction of University Avenue. Sounds like a huge project, and it's what, about a block long or something?
Council
Mr.
and
Hanson.
Mayor, I'll just give a brief summary. So we've been talking to Blaine about the reconstruction of this street. If you recall, when Main Street was upgraded, a section of University Avenue north of Main Street up to 125th Lane was also reconstructed. So the intent here is to go from that point all the way to the end. And Blaine talked to us about wanting to get this street done at the same time as some other work that they're planning in the area. So the proposal, the JPA, contemplates splitting the cost of the storm sewers and the street surface costs. We don't have any utilities that would be upgraded on our side of the street as part of this work. There will be some assessments to about 20 different property owners there, and we will be following the 429 process and coming back to you with subsequent recommendations to convey that process. The assessments per homeowner are looking to be a little bit over $900 on that street.
Questions, Mr. Hanson, on that project? Councilmember Kicker?
Make a motion that the council approve the joint powers agreement with the city of Blaine for reconstruction of University Avenue from CAHAH 14 Main Street to 125th Avenue Northeast to Bengal Drive Northeast. Second.
Motion by Kicker, second by Griscoviac. Discussion?
Your Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
I mean, I get it in terms of the way the streets are laid out, but I literally feel like that's part of the parking lot at the high school. I mean, seriously, the heavy use that happens on that road is from high school students coming and going from the parking lot at the high school. And so putting that all on Coon Rapids residents in terms of the assessment. I'm not sure whether there's going to be, and maybe there's going to be some clarification of this. Is there some assessment that's being paid by the school?
Well, if I may.
Mr. Hanson.
Blaine, we cannot assess a property in the city of Blaine, but in my conversations with the city engineer in Blaine, they do intend to assess the school, as the city of Coon Rapids would for any school that exists
so
along a
Basically
project.
for their side of the street or what their
Yes.
portion of the joint powers agreement and the project, there will be an assessment that will run to the school as well.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I thought you were going to take issue with the terminus at Bengal Drive.
Oh, I would, if we hadn't run that other, yeah, if we hadn't run that other, yeah, exactly, that street.
By the way, that road is terrible.
It's horrible, yeah, but, so it needs to be fixed.
All right, any other discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. We have struck item 20 from the agenda, and we are on item 21. Consider resolution 19-136, accepting donation of real property from Shamrock Development. This appears to be just kind of a housekeeping issue. That's 2, 3, 4, 5 different parcels, accepting the donation of real property, accepting deeds of basically property that they couldn't build on, right, Mr. Cornelius?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. These are largely undeveloped parcels, remnants from previous projects. So they don't really have any use for them. They have minimal value from a taxation standpoint. And for the most part, they're guided either as conservancy or parks. So it really makes sense for the city to accept the donation.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're looking to,
Your Honor?
thank you. Councilmember Kicker.
I make a motion that the council adopt resolution 19-136, accepting the donation of real property and accepting deeds.
Second.
Motion by Kicker, second by Demmer. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Scroviak?
The pieces that aren't conservancy or park, would they ultimately be conveyed to the adjoining property owner? Or, I mean, we wouldn't want to maintain these small little pieces of property. Would that
Mr.
be
Fernelius?
a plan, or is it?
My understanding is that these are primarily open space wetlands right now, so I don't think there is much in the way of maintenance, and they are, I believe, adjacent to some land that the city already owns, so it really makes logical sense. These are just kind of an extension of public property that already is there.
They'll be conveyed and stay with the city then?
They would stay with
Okay.
the city, that's
I
correct.
can tell you that Shamrock did convey some to, there was some other questionable ones that they did convey to adjoining property owners that made more sense.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
Just want to dovetail on that. There are a couple of these that I think make real logical sense for the city to own them, especially because they do things like provide access to Coon Creek if it's needed, or they're in a floodplain or something like that. But there are actually a couple of them that are like actual lotted off lots that are at the end of a cul-de-sac, and there are adjoining landowners on either side that frankly might benefit from, even though it might not be a buildable lot, an addition to their lot, so they would have, I don't know, extra room for a shed, extra room for a garage, whatever, on their property. And I'm wondering if the city might have plans to approach them and see if they're interested in that. Because what I don't want to do is get into a situation where, for some difficulty or practical reason, somebody has difficulty building on a particular piece of property that either they developed into that property or they own and have decided not to do it, and then they just want to bail on it. Now, you're right, these are, I looked up a couple of the tax values on these properties, and like one of them was valued at $100, and the tax amount annually was like $1.24 or something like that. So it wasn't like a big deal, but it might have real good value to a neighbor, and I wonder if we could explore that.
Councilmember Johnson, we could do that. I don't know what the procedure would be for, you know, even though we're accepting it as a donation, it may have value to an adjacent landowner, and obviously I don't think we can convey or give away public property. So we'd have to look at what that process is, what the values are. So I think that's something we could explore at some point.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a tax value for $100, so if for $100 they
Right.
wanna have an addition to their property, I mean, I agree, we wouldn't give it to them.
Right.
But they may be interested, and I'd just like us to explore that, because what I don't wanna do is become the repository for anything that just doesn't work out down the road. Unless there's a good reason, like
Right.
access to a Coon Creek, or it is part of a conservancy program already. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept this donation from Shamrock Development. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 22 on this evening's agenda is to consider adoption of resolutions 19-132 and 19-133, levying appealed miscellaneous assessments 2019-2. That should be all we need to say about that, isn't it?
I will say, Mr. Mayor and Council, there were 3 people that were affirmed to pay, that did come into the city and pay, and so $2,875 will not be assessed.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Demmer?
Just a thank you to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. That's probably, can be potentially one of the toughest boards in the city, because your job is to enforce rules while people are upset that you're enforcing those rules. So much like some of the groups that have to do that, that's people who sit here at this dais and have to listen to a lot of tough stories and make good judgments. So thank you to them, and I will recommend that the council adopt resolutions 19-132 and 19-133, adopting the 2019 miscellaneous special assessments.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. And absolutely concur on the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. That is a tough job. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 23 is to consider Resolution 19-134, formally adopting the 24 comprehensive plan. We've approved it, the Met Council has approved it, and it's back for us to finally formally adopt it. Anything you want to add to that, Mr.
Well, Mr.
Fenellis?
Mayor, I wanted to acknowledge all the work that went into this. We actually started this process 4 years ago. 2015, the Met Council issues system statements. So it's been a long process. A lot of staff, community development staff, engineering, public works have been involved in this. Communications staff created a really wonderful document. If you have a chance to take a look at it, I would definitely recommend it. I also want to acknowledge the work of the Planning Commission. They spent a lot of time on it. A few other advisory commissions also weighed in, the Parks, Recreation Commission, Sustainability. I think we even took this to the Safety Commission at one point. I know we spent a lot of time with the council. We want to thank you for your input. And then lastly, the public. We had an online survey. I forgot how many comments we got from the public. We had discussions at our Summer in the City meeting. So, you know, it's a document that a lot of people don't know much about, but it's really important, and it's a high-quality work product that I think we can all be proud of, and we're grateful to be through the process. So we're looking forward to recommending your adoption of it tonight.
Grateful to be through the process. Oh, there's just these big. Councilmember Demmer.
Quick question, any changes that the Met Council recommended that you guys made that you wanted to highlight?
Councilmember Demmer, no, there weren't any substantive changes that they made. There was some information that was missing. It was mostly technical in nature. Didn't change any policy-related considerations for the city. So for the most part, it was a clean review, which is what you want when you go through that process. So nothing significant that would have warranted any kind of follow-up discussion with the council. Everything was really consistent with what we've talked about before.
All right, well, I would also like to thank everyone involved. I mean, between the staff and the volunteers, and it's 208 pages of just, riveting content that I read each night to my kids. No, it was clearly a lot of work, and it's pretty amazing to get it through all the different hoops it had to go through. So I would move adoption of Resolution 19-134, placing the 2040 Comprehensive Plan into effect.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Wells. Discussion?
I actually believe he does read it to his kids.
I believe it. They read it to me.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Item 24, consider resolution 19-137, approving the year-end budget appropriations. Mr. Stemmel, Mr. Hanson?
Yeah, I'll take that. Mr. Mayor, Council, during this time of year, the Finance Department works with staff in estimating what they'll spend in their general fund activities through the end of 2019. And then we reappropriate the budget according to anybody who has a deficit to satisfy our administrative order and shift the budget funding around to make all of those balances positive in each category. The second part we partake in is projecting what the general fund numbers will be at the end of the year. So this year, we project our general fund numbers are going to be pretty much the same as last year. Our revenues are over expenditures of approximately 1.6 million, and last year they were like 1.7 million. If our projections hold after we account for our fund balance policy, we could potentially transfer about 1.5 million to the facility construction fund or any fund that we designate. Some of the reasons that we have this budget excess, our revenues were projected to be $627,000 over budget, pretty much the same as last year, and pretty much because of our permits and our inspection plan check fees, again, with storm damage and more permits being pulled. Personal services were projected to be about $523 under budget. Not as much as last year. They were over $850,000 last year, but this is because the police department is not seeing as many vacancies as they used to see, and so that budget is tightening up a little bit for us. On the other hand, in our professional services division with our maintenance and repairs and utilities, we're projecting to be about $643,000 under budget. And that's a lot more under budget than last year, when it was about $350,000. And that's because we're really cutting back on the need for a lot of maintenance and repairs that was budgeted. And our IT came in under budget also this year. And of course, it's kind of a shot in the dark sometimes for fuel. And so we never want to get caught if there's a gas price increase. So, this year it happens that fuel did not increase, and so we have a surplus budget there too.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Wells.
move to adopt resolution number 19-137, reappropriating funds within the 2019 general fund budget and amending the 2019 and 2020 budgets.
Second.
Motion by Wells, second by Johnson. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember,
Just wait for me there, wait.
Wait for that one.
Councilmember Griscoviac.
This seems like a pretty significant surplus this year. A couple of things. I mean, we never want to get caught by paying too much for fuel or things like that, but I think our fund balance reserve actually covers that type of scenario. And other cities, one comes to mind, Farmington, they used their surplus, their end-of-the-year surplus, to actually lower the next year's levy. And I'm wondering, instead of moving all this into facilities construction fund, I know our budget's set for this year, but is that a conversation that we can have as a council and staff in future years? Because I mean, this is a budget surplus. We essentially tax too much. I think we should either lower the levy or do something else to that effect. So that's a conversation I'd like to have.
I love that you said for future years, because I thought,
Oh, no.
ooh, we could be here quite a while this evening. Mr. Stemwedel?
Mayor, Council, yes, we've already sent in our certifications for 2020, so
Right,
sorry.
I know that. Yeah, okay.
But all joking aside, certainly, you know, a good time to have the conversation would be in the spring as we're starting to anticipate the 2021 budget. You know, there are certainly pros and cons to that approach. One thing we've attempted through this method is by placing some of those dollars in facility construction, we're essentially not taxing for some of the facilities needs that we have over time. For example, the roof, we have $1 million project next year. You know, we've talked a little bit about the facilities needs over the next 10 years, and so that pot of money would be sort of the first place to go to. And so I think what we need to do is tie in sort of the long-range projection of how these funds will get used versus whether or not you'd want to do something like that, which would certainly be an option. We would do for the 2019 budget, we would do the sweep into the facilities construction fund sometime in April. Again, that's just kind of affecting this year. And so we'd really want to understand how council's feelings are about that for the 2021 budget, so we can start that conversation early, because obviously the later we get into the year, the more difficult it becomes.
And don't get me wrong, I applaud the city staff and everyone for handling this in a, you know, fiscally responsible way with a surplus like this. But I'm just wondering, when we take $1.2 million, or if it's $1.7 million, I don't recall the total numbers after the shortfalls there. It goes into facilities construction fund, but we've already set our budgets for 2020 in the facilities construction fund, so that money is going in there unbudgeted for. And so that's something that I think as a council, we should take into consideration. And I have a feeling we probably anticipated this surplus before we finalized the levy, so we could have actually maybe potentially lowered the levy even more so than we did. So appreciate everyone's open-mindedness on that we can take a look at those conversations early next spring and into the 2021 budget season.
Councilmember Demmer?
Yeah, I think a really good thing to do at some work session in the future would be to sort of come to us with what you think a good floating, you know, budget is for the construction fund. Because obviously if we have a really, really tough year, that's going to go down. And if we, you know, fuel costs are low, it goes up. Fuel costs are high, it goes down. If you have that target in mind and we're way above it, then yeah, absolutely, we should consider, you know, that it's too high. You know, if you have a number in mind that kind of matches the rolling amount we spend and we're at it, then it's a different conversation. So I don't think Councilmember Skroviak is asking for we give it all back. I think it's more of we appreciate that rather than having the tax rate go up and down in the year we happen to replace the roof, that you've got a nice buffer there. But we imagine you probably have something in mind for what the level of that buffer should be, and just letting us know if we've way overshot it helps us know that we could use that opportunity to give something back.
Mayor, Council, I think we could provide some of that analysis just projecting out approximately similar to what we would do for any of our capital funds. You know, we need a certain amount of revenue over that period of time to kind of smooth out the bumps in the road. We want to apply a similar approach to the facilities plan. We've started that with the facilities analysis that was completed last year. We're going to be working on that 10-year capital plan. And then to that point, if, let's just say, for example, you needed $750,000 or $1 million a year to sort of smooth that out, anything in excess of that million you could potentially use for a different purpose. But those are all things that we can bring to you at a later date.
Good. All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second at this point on item 24. I guess that's up to me then. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and that motion carries. Not sure what I was waiting for.
Third.
All right, item 25 is to consider resolution 19-138, approving the 2020 compensation plan for unrepresented employees. Mr. Stemwedel, or is there anything else on this? This is the last contract, right?
In essence, yes, it's the last sort of pay decision for employees here at the city. We finalized 4 contracts last year that carried through 2020. And so we always anticipate after the budget's improved, the unrepresented pay plan, so all non-union employees. And in this case, we're matching the wage increase that was provided for in contract for all 4 of those unions to the non-represented group. So that's what you see before you today.
All right. Excellent. Have any questions?
Your Honor?
Councilmember Kicker?
So, with the 3% increase in wage, does that affect the steps, the value of the steps within each of the 24 grades? So does everything, when you look at grade A and it's whatever, $18 in some sense, is that step 1, is that gonna go up 3%? Is that how it works essentially? So everybody's salary will go up 3%, but those steps will also go up 3%? Is that?
Mayor and council, so yes, our wage scale is elevated by 3%. And so if, for example, you were a grade A, step 2, whatever that number is, come January 1st, would inflate 3%.
3%.
Yes. And that applies to all the steps and grades within our pay plan for the non-represented.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Johnson?
I'd move adoption of Resolution 19-138, establishing the 2020 compensation plan for unrepresented employees as articulated in the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Wells. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
Last week, we had a resident talk about their levy and the impact and the increase in how we're spending. This is just emphasizing the fact that a large portion of our levy increase every year is for cost of living and for these adjustments that are made. A 3% adjustment across the board is significant because we have so many employees with the city. I think in 2021, the economy is good right now, and we have to attract the right kind of people to run our city. But I did talk with the city staff today, Matt and the manager, that I'd like to take a look at some of the scales that we have right now, make sure that they're in line with other communities. And just as we move into the process of the union negotiations for 2021, I'd like to kind of see all this put together a little bit ahead of time. And it just seems that a 3% wage increase on top of all the other benefits maybe just isn't sustainable in the long term. And I know it's not always 3%. There's been years where it's 1%. I don't know if it's ever been 0. But those are discussions, again, too, that I'd like to see early in 2020.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 26 is to consider Resolution 19-146, establishing Bunker Hills Golf Course fees and charges. Mr. Anderson, anything you want to hit the highlights of here?
Mayor, Council, yes, thank you. It's always a fun thing to come and talk about fees for next year. At Bunker Hills, our favorite golf season is always going to be the next one because there's always an opportunity. And through pricing, we see a big opportunity in introducing a midday rate. So that's the big change. You see there no rate increases, but the market does dictate us looking at the midday. It's an area, or it's a time frame where we see a great reduction in the amount of golfers out there playing. And our rates that we had, our rack rates as we'd call them, were not aligned with the marketplace. So those midday rates are a reduction, and it allows us to really focus on quantity, bringing golfers in at a very attractive rate, as opposed to raising rates. So rates stay the same across the board, recommended rates stay the same across the board, but introducing these midday rates 11 to 4 every day of the week is something we're really excited to get out to the marketplace and promote widely.
All right. Very good. Any questions of Mr. Anderson?
I love that some of these are $9 or $18. Like, you can play $1 a hole if you're a senior patron.
Yeah, that's the big one, and I think that's going to be the biggest add for us. Is it drops that midday rate significantly down for our senior patron card holders. And if you look back, 10 or 12 years ago, we sold approximately 400 senior patron cards. We sold just under 1,000 senior patron cards this year.
That's awesome.
So that's a huge opportunity for us, and it's a great opportunity for seniors in the community to come up and enjoy Bunker Hills.
And I should mention the juniors as well.
Yes.
$1 a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Great. In that case, I would like to move to adopt Resolution 19-146, establishing Bunker Hills Golf Course fees and charges.
Second?
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Is anybody here to address council for open mic this evening? You're it, Sue. No, you don't want to talk to us? All right, we'll move past the open mic portion, and we have one report on a previous open mic. And that was, and he's received this letter, right?
Mr. Mayor, yes, it was mailed to him.
Okay. Mr.
And
Stemwell?
I'll also mention, Mayor and Council, I did speak with Mr. Pentilla last week about this topic. So we had a good conversation about what would be coming in the letter and what the situation was, so.
Okay, okay. I don't know that I feel the need to read the letter this evening. It's on here if anybody's curious, but it's pretty much just kind of a one of. It doesn't really affect the rest of the community. It's kind of his deal. All right, other business. Chief Piper.
Mayor Council, this morning, Senator John Hoffman contacted me and invited the fire department to participate in the 9th annual Tiny Tots Toy Drive. The purpose of the drive is to collect presents and then distribute them at Mercy Hospital for kids that are hospitalized over Christmas time. With that said, this coming Saturday from 11 to 1 at Buena Sera over there on the River Road in Champlin, 11 to 1 is an open house, and basically you bring a present there, and the owner slash chef, Raphael, is providing a pasta lunch with all the fixins, so it's really kind of a nice deal. And then after that's done, then all the presents get loaded into one of our fire trucks, and we drive from Buena Sera up to Mercy Hospital and then take all the presents into the hospital. So it's really a nice thing. So again, this Saturday, I believe that's the 21st, from 11 to 1 at Buena Sera in Champlin on the River Road.
Does he know there are over 60,000 people in the city of Coon Rapids that could potentially show up there?
It could be busy. It could be busy. But we've participated in this in the past, and it's a great deal where the presents are there for the kids that are in over Christmas, and then also there's presents left over for kids come during the year, either into the ER or other areas or whatever, they can get a present. So it's really a nice deal.
All right, thank you, Chief. Mr. Hammer, I hesitate to ask, but I'm feeling pretty good about this. From a couple of the other things I've heard independently. Hanson Overpass.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, we are in the week of the 16th, which we said the roadway will be open this week. We're waiting to get final confirmation on exactly what that time will be. CTN is very interested to get over there and see those vehicles go over. It'll be updated in the newsletter. I don't have, is it tomorrow or Friday? I just know it will be this week.
Can we do a countdown on our website or something like that?
So I happen to have heard that Epiphany is hosting all of the workers over there for lunch on Friday. So something tells me that bridge will be open before lunch. So that's my prediction.
It could be a dinner.
Oh, maybe they'll kick it back to dinner. All right. Other business to come before council.
Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
I was going to ask about the bridge, so thanks for bringing that up. But no, the last meeting of the year for us in 2019, so I just wanted to say to the council, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to the staff, to the council, to our residents. It's been a great year in 2019. I am honored to serve on the council, so there you go.
All right.
I echo that. Happy holidays and a happy new year.
Mr. Anderson, anything going on at the golf course over the holidays?
Well, there's always something going on at the golf course, right? What's been fun about the last couple of weeks, and it always is this time of year, is all of the company and association holiday celebrations at the golf course. So there's a lot of that going on. The clubhouse is decorated for the holidays. A lot of folks coming up with their coworkers for lunch and dinner. So, we're kind of looking forward, not that we're not enjoying December, but we're looking forward to what occurred today with the rates moving into next year, introducing that to our customers, getting the word out, and just proceeding on into the next season. So it's going to be really exciting.
All right. Very good. Any other business to come before council this evening? Mr. Stemwedel.
In relation to that, I did want to mention, one of the activities that is going up there is there's sort of always an annual event in the event center, and this year it's snowed in, a holiday celebration of song, which is running from December 21st to the 23rd, and then the 27th through the 30th. And tickets are available at kendallstc.com. So if you visit our website, you can get over to the Kendall site and check out tickets are available for that show.
Do we know, Miss Coon Rapids, who became Miss Minnesota, is competing right now in Connecticut for Miss America. And I know that she did her talent last night, and it was very well received. She was amazing. But I'm just curious, I know that the contest will be, the main event will be 7 p.m. Eastern, I think it is, Thursday night. So I think you can find it streaming online, NBC affiliates. But wish Catherine Kippers all the best out there.
Good year for national exposure for Coon Rapids.
It is. And then all we have left today is to wish Councilmember Wells a happy birthday, I believe.
Second.
The $2 or the $5?
All right, well, if we have no other business to come before us.
Move to adjourn.
Yeah, there you go. Second.
Motion by Wells, second by Johnson to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.